Well, the president has certainly satisfied his most ardent supporters today, but the question remains on whether that can translate nationally. Already today, another House Democrat has said that he should step away from the race. Is it worth potentially a government shutdown in the future to fix those things?
We have to do something.
The motives behind the alleged arsonist Cody Balmer's attack on Sunday may have had to do with his stance against Israel and Governor Shapiro's Jewish faith. The coke production will continue today. The unaffected parts of this plant were described as stable and secure, but of course will not be unaffected are the nearly 1,300 workers who will come here every day who have just lost 2 of their colleagues.
The governor's family thanking Harrisburg firefighters who helped save their lives and the governor's residents Sunday by serving them lunch at their firehouse. And that's where Fox 43's James Corrigan is live with details of the governor's show of appreciation.
Well, Evan, this show of appreciation came together thanks to celebrity chef and Governor Shapiro's friend Robert Irvine and his foundation, which provides meals to first responders. And those meals were prepared by a York business known as Sweet Mamas. But the sweetest part for the Shapiro family was getting to see the firefighters who they last saw in very different circumstances this past Sunday as the governor's residence was burning. Serving meals to those who served them at their darkest hour, as the Shapiro family gave back to the firefighters who responded to the arson attack against them Sunday night by hosting them for lunch and recognizing their sacrifice.
That fire could have consumed the entire home, could have taken the lives of the people I love most in life, but it didn't, because all of you left your homes, left your families, and you ran toward danger.
A few more minutes and that fire would have spread rapidly.
Firefighter Robert Brackbill was among those who responded to the fire, which he says was a few minutes away from engulfing the entire home. He says the outreach represents a ray of hope in a difficult time for the family.
I said, we had a really bad situation. We put the fire out, which stopped the bad situation. And now look what it turned into. We're all here today enjoying a lunch, together. And it's just a great way for them to show appreciation to first responders.
The show of thanks comes as national leaders such as Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer call on Attorney General Pam Bondi to charge alleged arsonist Cody Balmer with a hate crime after search warrants revealed he called 911 after the crime and confessed to anti-Semitic motivations. Governor Shapiro, however, says the case rests with the district attorney and pushed back on those using the fire to make their own points.
I don't think it's helpful for people on the outside who haven't seen the evidence, who don't know what occurred, who are applying their own viewpoints to the situation to weigh in that manner.
With his family by his side and even a personal prayer given to him by a chaplain, the governor says he and the firefighters who saved his family will forever share a bond.
On behalf of my entire family here, whose lives were saved because of your bravery, we just want you to know how grateful we are to you. And we hope that God continues to shine his light upon each and every one of you as you go out to keep us safe.
Now, the Department of General Services released an update on the governor's residence, saying that it could potentially be ready for reoccupation in the next few days. The governor says that he wants to move back in as soon as possible, and a planned Easter egg roll for Tuesday on the lawn of the governor's residence is still on. Live in Harrisburg, I'm James Corrigan with Fox 43 News.
All right, James, thank you very much. 10th District Congressman Scott Perry supported the bill in the House despite concerns about the bill's increase to the federal deficit. Fox 43's James Corrigan sat down with Congressman Perry today here in our studio. He joins us now with details of that conversation.
Well, Evan, the bill has been the talk of the nation since it passed the House last week with many of President Trump's promises on taxes in this bill, but others around the country are concerned with its effects on social programs. Congressman Scott Perry addressed those concerns in my conversation with him right here in the studio, and he says he remains concerned about its effects on the federal deficit.
It did some great things, but it's still got a lot of work to do.
For Congressman Scott Perry, that work involves reducing the bill's projected increases to the federal deficit, While he supports the bill's extension of President Trump's first-term tax cuts and the elimination of taxes on tips and overtime, he voted for the bill despite its projected addition of more than $2 trillion to the deficit and its raising of the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. Why are you supporting a bill that would increase the deficit and keep the deficit where it is by that much?
Okay, so again, none of these bills are perfect. You don't get everything you want. If we're going to preserve the taxes where they are, you're going to have to do something.
You've talked about the debt ceiling increases as almost an admission of more debt. Do you see it the same way?
I do see it as the same way, but at the same time, again, Rand Paul will say, I didn't vote for this increased spending that caused the debt. I agree with him, neither did I. At the same time, if we default, that'll be very, very bad for the economy as well. And I'd actually like us to see us cut some spending so that we never got into a circumstance where we needed to continue to increase the debt ceiling.
Much of the spending cuts from the bill come from Medicaid. The bill imposes work requirements of 80 hours a month for able-bodied adults and freezes states' abilities to increase provider taxes that allow them to collect more federal dollars for Medicaid. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects that the bill would cause more than 8 million Americans to lose their health care. While Democrats argue that the requirements will hurt the economy by keeping more people off health care, Perry says the changes allow Medicaid to cover who it was meant to cover.
It wasn't meant for people that could work but choose not to. It is meant for people that are poor or can't work, and so we're going to preserve it. If we want to preserve it for the people that it was intended for, we've got to get rid of some of this waste.
Your Democratic opponents will argue that fewer people on Medicaid will lead to fewer people working, so that sicker people are less likely to work. What would be your response to that?
If we're paying for people that could work that choose not to, who do not have dependents but choose not to work, the system is going to fail.
I want to bring you to something that Josh Hawley said about Medicaid, saying, quote, if Republicans want to be a working class party, we must ignore calls to cut Medicaid and start delivering on America's promise for America's working people. With these cuts, is the GOP still the party of the working people?
Of course, the GOP is the party of the working people, and I would remind Senator Hawley that under this program, just like I told you before, Medicaid increases 25% over the next 10 years. Only in Washington, D.C. is a 25% increase considered a cut.
Others are concerned over the bill's impact on SNAP benefits. Under its new formula, 29 states with higher error rates, including Pennsylvania, would see its share of SNAP spending go to 25%, up from 0. While Governor Shapiro warns the state would not be able to make up the billion-dollar difference, Perry says the states need to have responsibility in keeping error rates down.
They have no incentive to verify that a person is even eligible. So everybody that applies, whether they're eligible or not, can get the benefit. And again, it becomes unaffordable.
The Central PA Food Bank in Harrisburg, right in your district, they have sounded a little bit of the alarm, saying that these cuts would hurt rural areas, that they are worried that they may not be able to keep up with new demand from these cuts. You talked about cutting spending, of course.
Right.
Why is this an area where spending should be cut?
Well, let's be clear about what the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank is talking about. What they're talking about is programs that started during the pandemic and were never scheduled to continue to go on forever.
Even for SNAP? Even just the basic funding of SNAP?
Okay, so basic funding for SNAP, then they need to go to the state government and make sure that the people are qualified. Again, we have to make sure that people are actually qualified to be on these programs because they are not endless pits of money.
Are you concerned about states' abilities to?
I think the state can make up the difference. I worked at the state level as well. There's plenty of waste and fraud and abuse there too.
The bill is now in the hands of the Senate, with Republican senators indicating significant changes could be made. Perry says he would have concerns if the Senate version adds more to the deficit, but that he's hopeful the final bill will be fiscally sound.
I hope what they will see and what they will experience is that their taxes won't go up, that the economy will be running in a robust fashion, and where they feel pretty good about the future of their country and their own personal future.
And the House and Senate both return to Washington next week, and the Senate will get to work on that bill. They've indicated that the bill will not look the same after they're done. Whether all of the tax cuts or funding shifts in those entitlement programs will survive, it all remains to be seen. Evan.
All right, sir.
A car can accomplish many things. It can get you where you need to go, and it can also get you to a place of comfort. For Tisha Rosado of East Berlin, those cars are the Volkswagens she collects. In July, a new addition joined her set, a 2003 Beetle from a veteran's auction. But the car of love had found itself showing its years.
The entire car was covered in mold from head to toe. You couldn't even see her adorable Betty Boop floor mats because they were just covered in mold.
Tisha had planned to take it apart and use its parts to help restore a different Beetle, until she opened the visor and found a surprise letter from the car's previous owner saying goodbye to their love bug.
I was like, there's no way that we can chop this car up and use it for parts. We need to find the owner, we need to get it running again, and we need to let her know that her best friend is continuing on.
Tisha now needed to find the owner and knew the one place she could go to spread the word: TikTok.
You know, we buy a lot of Beetles, but this one came with a little surprise.
Then the card inside says, "Get well soon." And it says, "Hoping you're feeling better each day and you'll soon be up and on your way. Thank you for keeping me safe, for all the joy and fun we had.
You were my dream car. You made me feel special. I hope your journey continues and you bring someone lots of joy."
The woman going by Tree lives in New York and had bought the car in 2003 to share with her father, with whom she had grown up loving Herbie the love bug.
When I was little, my father was obsessed with Herbie. He loved Beetles. And I told him, I said, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a Herbie. And I walked in and there was my car. There was Herbetta on a spindle spinning around. And I said, that's my car.
After her father passed away 3 years later, her bond with the car that she would name Herbetta grew. But it was during the pandemic when the car fell on hard times, as it grew moldy and ceased running. Tree's decision to sell it to a veterans group felt as if her final connection to her father was gone.
And I hung up the phone and I just sobbed. And I looked up to my dad and I said, "Dad, I failed." I said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "I failed you."
But less than a month later, a friend sent her a video.
I was watching the video. I literally slid off the couch and fell on the floor. And I couldn't believe this beautiful young girl who is reading this letter is sitting with shorts in my car and it's completely cleaned.
Tisha's TikTok had gone viral, and she was able to get in touch with Tree to let her know that her love bug is in good hands. The letter inspired Tisha to restore the car and raise money through a GoFundMe to deliver it back to Tree and reunite her with her long-lost Herbetta. A gesture and a saga that has shown both that fate has a way of bringing people exactly where they need to be.
I don't believe in coincidence. I think that everything happens for a reason. And this car found me because me and Tree were both in a point in our life where we could use a friend.
In one sentence, love continues. If you think someone has passed and they are not still with you, they are with you. Love continues.
Proving that no door is ever truly closed and no amount of love can be measured in mere miles. James Corrigan, Fox 43 News.